In this video, we're going to talk about relations and functions, how they're the same, how they're different. So if you have your guided notes up, that's what you should have in front of you. So these are our guided notes for functions and relations. First of all, we're going to do the vocabulary. So a relation, so we really have to make sure that we've got the vocabulary down. So a relation can be represented by a set of what? A set of ordered pairs. Remember what ordered pairs are? Ordered pairs look like this. Yeah, it's a point. So ordered pairs have two pieces to them. The domain is the set of all x values. So which part is the domain? The domain is all of the first numbers in all of our ordered pairs. The range, and this is different than when you're talking about data sets. So the range is the set of all y values. What are the y values? The y values are the second part. So in our ordered pair, we have an x and we have a y. The independent variable, okay, the independent variable is the thing that happens because it happens. The the independent variable is the x value. Sometimes in certain things, certain conditions, it's also called the input. It's also called the domain. So that's your independent variable. Dependent variable, on the other hand, can you guess? It's the y value. It's also known as output or range. Okay, so hopefully those were just review words, and this helps set us up for what we need to do with functions and relations. So a relation is a function, so specifically function, if for each x value there is exactly one y value. Okay, so function is different. A function is a kind of relation. Okay, so a relation is when you take one thing and you pair it up with something else. And you got a whole bunch of those points, those ordered pairs together. A function is specifically if for each x value there is only one y value. And we'll get into more of that later. So each value in the domain of a function is called an input, and the corresponding value for the range is called an output. Okay, so those are all how everything is related. Okay, hopefully you understood that. We're going to do some examples to get you better acquainted with all this stuff. So identify the domain and range of each relation. Should be pretty easy. Domain, remember, is your x. The range is your y. We're going to write it like a set. So our x values, I'm going to make them green. Our x values are the first ones. Our y values are the second ones. Okay. So the domains are -2, 0, 4, and -2. The problem is we don't want to have duplicates, so we really want to write this like -2, 0, 4. We also want to go from smallest to biggest number, just how we do it. Okay, so let's look at our y values, our range. Our smallest y value is -7. Then we have -1, 0, and 3. And that time I just ordered them and checked for duplicates as I was doing it. Okay, number 2, same thing. Domain, x values, so that's easy, -4, -1, 2, and 3. The range is 1, -5, 8, and 1. Oops, they're not in order, are they? So we got to put them in order. Okay, so the smallest range value is -5, and then 1, and we've got 2 1s, so we only want to put it once, and 8. Okay, pretty easy. So determine whether the relation is a function. So remember, we only want each x value to have one y value. So in other words, in number 3, we repeat the 0 in the x. So not a function. It is a relation, but it's not a function, okay? Because the 0 repeats as an x. Okay? If we look at the next one, so our x values, 2, 6, 1, and -1, they're all different. So this one is a function. Each x has one y value. It doesn't matter that in the y's the 3's repeat. It only matters that each x value only has one y value. In number 5, what do you think? Did you see the double 3's? Hopefully you did. So this is not a function. And I'm going to let you supply your own reason for why it's not a function. Okay, so the next piece, when given a graph or a picture of a relation and asked if it is a function, the blank is used. It is called the vertical line test. So remember, the vertical line is the one that goes up and down. This test helps you to know a relation is a function by looking to see if any vertical line drawn does not intersect the graph at more than one point. In other words, on the graph, each x value is paired with only one y value. Okay, I'm going to make a pink line on each of these because that's what you do with the vertical line test. You're just going to draw lines. Okay, and as you test, my pink lines only go through one point at a time. So number 6 is a function. If I look at number 7, okay, right here, my pink line goes through 2 points. So not a function. It's only a relation. If I look at number 8, and I'm going to draw some lines, guess what? Goes through 2 points. Therefore, not a function. And number 9 goes through one at a time, so that one is a function. Okay, so I hope the vertical line test makes sense to you. Just draw your vertical line. If it only passes through one point, then you have a function. If not, then you don't have a function, you just have a relation. So the next piece is mapping diagrams. So mapping diagrams and tables can be used to determine if a relation is a function. In a mapping diagram or table, each x value will be paired with only one y value. A y value may be paired with more than one x value, and the relation will still be a function. Okay, so again, the x value is what's important. Okay, so what they've done here is they've given us some mapping diagrams. Notice the circles. So the input, the x values, the domain are on one side, the output are on the other ones. When you have a mapping diagram, it's really easy to see if you have a function or not. So how many arrows come from each of my x's? In the case of number 10, each x value only has one arrow. Therefore, it is a function. In number 11, -1 has 1 arrow, but 3 has 2 arrows, and 8 has 1 arrow. So therefore, this one is not a function because of 3. Okay? Again, I'm not really looking at the y values, just looking at the x values. For number 12, -4 has 1 arrow, -1 has 1 arrow, 0 has 1 arrow, and 5 has 1 arrow. Therefore, yep, it's a function. Pretty easy. Okay, so remember your input, your x values are in one bubble, and the output or y values are in the other bubble. For number 13, again, look at your x values. Each x value is different. Since each x value is different, then it's got its own y value. So yeah, that's a function. In number 14, again, look at your x values. What do you notice? I tell you what, I see a 4 and a 4. So what do you think that means? Hopefully you figured out by now that nope, that one's not a function. And if we look at number 15, for that table, each of our x values is different. And by the way, -5 is different than +5, so don't get thrown into that. So each of your x values is different. So yep, it's a function. Okay, so far so good. Hopefully you're getting this. Feel free to stop, pause the video, go back, rewind, re-listen anytime if you need to. I'm going to look at one-to-one functions, but we're not really going to do them this time. Okay, so one-to-one function is when every element or each number of the range of the function, that's the y value, remember, corresponds to exactly one element of the domain. Okay, so it's a function if it passes the vertical line test. Okay. It is a one-to-one function if it passes both the vertical line test and the horizontal line test. Okay, so remember, vertical is up and down, horizontal is side to side. Okay, easy way to figure this out. So number 16, is it one-to-one? Look at, in this case, first of all, we have to determine, is it a function? So each x only has one arrow coming out of it, so it is a function. Is it one-to-one? Let's look at the y's. Each y only goes to one x. So yep, that one is a function. That one's a one-to-one function. The next one, number 17, do the vertical line test. Oop, passes the vertical line test. And the horizontal line test, it would pass the horizontal line test as well. Therefore, yes, it's one-to-one. If we look at number 18, all our x values are different. All of our y values are different. So yes, that one is one-to-one. Number 19, all of our x values are different. But if you look at the y values, I see 3 there twice. So guess what? That one is not one-to-one. It is a function. It's not a one-to-one function. Number 20, if I look at the vertical line test, we pass the vertical line test. If we look at the horizontal line test, see, I've got a point here and a point here, a point on each side. So therefore, it's not one-to-one. In number 21, all of my x's have one arrow coming from them. The y's, though, if I look at Roman numeral 2, there are 2 arrows coming from it. So therefore, it is not one-to-one. That ends our function versus relation video, and I hope you've got all the information that you need. There will now be practice, so make sure that you come back to this video if you need additional help or you just need to review whatever we're talking about